Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Shahid Rasool, and I'm an assistant professor in Northumbria University. And in today's webinar, that is lunchtime series from UPSIGN Climate Change Group, I would like to invite Dr. Shahid Iqbal, who is in International Water Management Institute. He would be talking about the climate change and its watershed moment. So to just give you a little bit context and short biography of Dr. Shahid Iqbal. Um, Dr. Shahid Iqbal has worked in wide range of organizations, which are national and international and some governmental and academic as well. So basically, he has been working in field of hydroclimate modeling, climate change impact assessment, and water resources. So currently, Dr. Shahid Iqbal is working as regional researcher water modeling at IMI Pakistan. And among Shahid's many specialties are climate change impact assessment, hydroclimate modeling, and others. So we are very lucky to have Dr. Shahid Iqbal with us today, and he would be talking about the climate change, its impacts regarding water in Pakistan and beyond. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Shahid Iqbal, and please start your presentation, and we will be looking forward to discuss about the presentation later on in question and answer session. Thank you. Over to you,
Well,
Shahid.
well, yeah, thank you very much, Shankar. Thank you very much for the introduction and thank you very much for the brief intro of mine. So I think, yes, I do have permission to share the screen. So let me check on the. So can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see the screen now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So basically the today topics that we are going to discuss is about the climate change threats and the watershed management. Uh, I'm not going into the details of what the climate change threats, but I will discuss the major threats that we are going to face in Pakistan context, and as well as we are going to see the one of the main river basin, that's the Indus River Basin. How is the climate change is going to impact on the watershed of the Indus Basin, and what interventions can be possible in terms of the climate change, or you can say that the climate proofing can be done, or the climate resilience can be done. So the outline of my presentation. Yeah, the outline is that we will see in very shortly that what are the global problems we are facing, and then we will see what are the potential problems, particularly related to the Indus Basin. Then in the next step, we will see the climate change projections and the floods, because in this Indus Basin, one of the major threats is the floods. So sometimes we have a riverine flood and sometimes we have floods due to the precipitation. So I will discuss a bit about the difference between the riverine flood and the precipitation flood, and then I'll give you some of the examples as well. Later on, we will go for the conclusion recommendations, and finally, I will go for the way forward. What else we can do, or what are the mitigation or adaptation measures we have, or we can adopt to overcome the climate change, the extreme. And finally, of course, we'll be having a question answer session. So with a further delay, so basically, we have two major problems or two major issues in terms of the global perspective. One is the population pressure, and there's the global warming and climate change. So if we see from this chart, we can see that with the passage of time, the population is increasing. If I see that in 1947 or 48, we will be having somewhere under 5.5 million people in the Pakistan, but now we have more than like 24 crore or something like this, so 22.4 million, something like this is the population, the current population. And the growth rate of Pakistan population is 2.1% per year. So with this growth rate, by 2050, we'll be having approximately 30 million population or more. So increasing population is going to impact or pressurize our water resources, our food production, energy production, and same, we'll be having more floods and droughts, and we have to mitigate that. And then the major issue what we are facing, except for the climate change, that's the urbanization and industrialization. So the more people are moving into the urban areas, so that again put pressure on the urban water resources and the urban resources, the food resources as well. The second biggest issue or the biggest problem in terms of the global perspective is the global warming and climate change. Uh, if we see uh, in Pakistan, the global mean surface temperature has already been increased by 0.74 degrees Celsius since between the 1906 and 2005. And it is expected that from 1990 onwards till 2100, the expected temperature would be, if we take strengthened measures. So it seems to be a bit impossible for us to constrain ourselves to less than 1.5 degrees Celsius increase, but there are likely chances that we will go well beyond 2 degrees Celsius. So there are some reports from the Intergovernmental Panel for the Climate Change of 2007, 2013, even 2017, and even in the recent reports, that the South Asian temperature would be more than the rest of the global temperatures. Then we have some major issues as well due to the global warming, because with the increase in temperature, there will be more glacial retreat, and then we will be having some severity in the climate extreme events like floods and droughts. And the most recent example is the 2022 flood. And this is what I was talking, that there is a difference between the riverine flood and the floods due to the precipitation. So we will discuss that later in detail. With the increase in temperature, we'll be having more issues of the water scarcity. So in my next slide, I will tell you that what we are doing and what we have done so far in terms of to overcome this issue. And as I mentioned, that there will be a retreat in the glacier's mass, so there are likely chances that we'll be having a more GLOF, that is the glacial lake outburst flood. Then, with the increase in flooding, there are likely chances that our reservoir will fill up quickly with the sediments. With increasing temperature, we'll be having more chances of the water losses in terms of the evapotranspiration. The global warming has an adverse impact on the ecosystem, forest fire, and there are some plants and animal species that go into extinction due to the increase in the temperature. So in this figure, you can see that there are various countries, they are emitting the CO2 emissions since 1750 to 2020. So in upcoming slides, I have made an animation, so that will help you to understand that how the countries are contributing towards the increased GHG emissions. This is what I was talking about. So I'll take a bit of minutes so that I can show you this animation. So it starts from 1850 and it will end up by the 2021. So here you can see that how much budget we have now and how the countries are going to contribute. So very quickly, I want to show this slide, sorry. So here you can see that with every passing year, the countries are contributing more towards the GHG emissions, and they are responsible for the climate change. So if you see here at this particular point, the China is on the 4th number, and in the 5th, and so gradually that will increase, and gradually see the ranking of the countries as they are progressing towards the 2000 and later 2021 and 2020. So, but overall, United States is the biggest emitter of the GHG emissions, and it's the biggest contributor as well. So by 1995, we were having 50% of the remaining budget, and now you will see we will having only 14% of the budget left if we want to constrain ourselves to the less than 1.5 degrees Celsius. That seems to be a bit ambitious, especially for the Southeast Asian region, where the China, India, they are the biggest emitter or the contributor of the GHG emissions. Pakistan in this context is contributing less than 1%, but in terms of the vulnerability, we are the 5th top country or among the top 5 countries as per the German Watch who are suffering the issues due to the climate change in Pakistan. I would like to show you something very interesting. So look at this red line, the red dotted line. If we consider or if we constrain ourselves to less than 2 degrees Celsius, so here you can see how it is going to impact. Although still our temperature is approximately around 8 degrees Celsius higher than the world average temperature. We are having a heat waves, we are having ocean warming, Arctic ice cap melting, sea level rising, increased earthquakes, and species extinction is there. Extreme weather events are quite visible. The 2022 flood is one of the examples. 2010 flood was another example. Similarly, what if our temperature is gone well beyond or till restricted to the 1 degree Celsius? So there will be some island nations like Maldives, like Bangladesh deltas, and even in the Indus Delta that will be submerged into the water. What if we have a 2 degrees increase in temperature? Water supply will be affected severely. There won't be any water available for the drinking, hardly in Southeast Asian region. Greenland, ice will melt, and there are so many things. This is the time. I think still we have some time left to think, to sit, think, and act wisely and quickly to control the temperature at least to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Whatever has gone is already has gone. We cannot bring it back, but at least whatever is left, we can preserve that. The problem is, what if the temperature is going well beyond 3 degrees Celsius, 4 degrees Celsius, 5, 6? Hardly there will be anything left for the coming generations. So there's a time to think upon it. Now let's discuss about the Indus Basin, because Indus Basin in the Pakistan context, it is the lifeline of the Pakistani people. It starts from the Hindu Kush Himalaya region and Tibetan Plateau, and it runs from north to south, and it drains into the Arabian Sea. So Indus Basin actually, there are some other rivers which are considered as a tributary of the Indus Basin, like Jhelum, Satluj, Ravi, Beas, and Kabul River Basin as well. So they are all draining into the Indus. They are contributing towards the Indus, and Indus finally drains into the Arabian Sea. What are the major issues that the Indus Basin is facing? That the Asian temperature, as I said earlier, is well beyond or well above the world average temperature. And this is not we are saying, this is the report well documented in IPCC 2013 that I have published. Similarly, as per the older the climate models data, I'm not talking about the latest climate model data, but I will discuss that later on my slides, that according to the CMAP5, under the RCP, these are the two scenarios, RCP 4.5 and 8.5. If we just look at the RCP 4.5, the expected temperature rise would be well above 2 degrees Celsius in the entire HKH region. Similarly, the HKH, the Hindu Kush, Karakoram, Himalayan, and Tibetan Plateau region has a glacier area of about 33,000 square kilometer, and that contains about 12,000 cubic kilometers of the fresh water. That is why this part of the world is known as the third pole. Like we are North Pole, South Pole, but this part, the HKH region, it is considered as a third pole because it is one of the largest freshwater towers available in the world. But just imagine if the temperature is going well beyond 2 degrees Celsius or 1.5 degrees Celsius, hardly there will be some glaciers left. And it seems, it is expected that if all the glaciers are going to melt down by 2050, the Indus River will be no more a perennial river. It will be a seasonal river then. That is something to worry about. Glaciers in the Western Himalaya and HKH region lose a mass at the rate, at a very high rate, very quickly they are melting. And so on, the monsoon precipitation becomes more intense and erratic from the last 4 decades, and is responsible for the floods in this region. There is a unique sort of a dilemma in the Indus River, that Indus River, there is a mixed contribution from the snowmelt as well as from the monsoon in this area. As I said earlier, that in this particular basin, the Indus Basin, there's more than approximately 80% of the stream flow is coming from the glacier belt contribution. And change in temperature or snowfall, the glacier mass would be reduced, and that will significantly hamper the water resources in this area. Landsliding and flooding may affect the existing ongoing projects in the Pakistan, especially the CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, that will be severely impacted. And one of the classical examples that we have seen recently is the floods in the Balochistan. So there are approximately 800 kilometers of the road infrastructure have been damaged severely due to these flash floods. And the flash floods are because of the erratic monsoon in this area. Similarly, there are more than 1,800 glacier lakes, of approximately 50 of them are potentially dangerous. And there is a report from the UN that states that there are 45 potential GLOF sites in the HKH region. So let me give you an example. In 2010, one of the reasons of the flood was the GLOF. That was the single event. So consider, God forbid, if we have all those 45 or 44 or 42 GLOFs at once, what would be the situation? Hardly there would be anyone who can survive in this area. This is something to be worried about. The world average for the water storage in their basins is the 40%. Unfortunately, in Indus Basin, we are using only 10% of its water for the storage purposes. Even the India, the Sutlej and Beas, they're saving that around 35% from these two rivers. Nile is 281%, and Colorado River Basin, they are storing 495, but 97% means approximately 500 times greater than their storage capacity is increased. So we have to think about it. That's a golden opportunity for us. If we construct dams, reservoirs, it is not necessary we construct the large dams or large reservoirs, but for example, along the Indus Basin, if we construct the small dams, small reservoirs, if we only store the flood water, that will be more than enough to sustain the agriculture in this area. And we'll be having an ample of water available for those days when we are facing the drought. Again, if we consider, or if we just look at the 2022 flood, so when there was a flood in the Balochistan and Sindh, so there was a drought condition in the Punjab region. So hardly there was water available in the canals to irrigate the fields. So we have to think about it. We take this climate change as an opportunity to save the water, to conserve the water, and that we can use later on for our agricultural purposes. In Pakistan, or even in India, in the Southeast Asian region, we are using more than approximately 90% of the surface water for irrigation purposes. And when there is less water available in the canals, in the rivers, so what we do, we non-judiciously we use the groundwater, the sweet water for the irrigation purposes. This is something we have to look after, and we need to think that we should not use the groundwater as the irrigation water sources. So when we're talking about the climate change and floods, because the Indus Basin is one of a basin that is extremely prone towards the flood. So the global climate model suggests that most of the world would have 16 to 25% increase in the heavy precipitation. And this heavy precipitation got heavier with the passage of time due to the climate change as well. For every degree change or increase in the climate change, the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere is increases around 7%. So in my next slide, I will tell you how it's going to contribute towards the flooding. Basically, there are three main reasons that are contributing towards the flooding. Number one, the warmer air leads to more intense precipitation. The reason being, warmer air has the capacity to hold the more and more moisture. And so that is one of the reasons that we'll be having a more precipitation. The second, more precipitation fall as a rainfall. So there is a difference between the precipitation and rainfall. So I'm not going to educate you in terms of this, the precipitation and rainfall, but very quickly, those who do not have an idea. So precipitation is something that it broadly categorized into the liquid and the solid as well, like snow, snow, the hails, the granules, even the water, it all comes under the category of precipitation. But only the liquid part of the precipitation, like the rainfall, what we have, it's known as a rainfall. So in future, we expect due to the climate change, there will be more rainfall in terms of the liquid precipitation. Similarly, apologies. When the rainfall, the changing pattern of the rain and snow, so when the rain falls or the snow, the combination of rain and snowmelt can lead to high runoff, that is the flooding. So when the rain or snow events are not a new phenomena, but the climate change can shift when they occur. For example, under the warmer condition, rain or snow events become more common at the higher elevation, so that will bring more water to the downstream areas. So that will impact the water storage capacity. And this is what exactly happened in 2022 floods in Balochistan area, because there was some the quick and heavier rainfall on the mountain tops in the Suleiman range. So quickly the water comes, and whatever the intervention have been made Like you must have heard that more than 25 dams have been washed away from the surface. So that brings another havoc in this in the area. So one of the reasons of the washed away of the dams or the intervention was they did not consider the climate change phenomena while they were constructing those dams or intervention to store the water. So we need to think. Even then, I'm saying whatever has gone is gone. Even then, we have a time to think, to sit, and to must indulge and include the climate change phenomena, whatever interventions we are going to make in the future. So again, in 2022, the rain this year has been 87% heavier than the average downpour in the country. This is what that had happened in the Balochistan, in the Sindh area. So there are some selected findings. At 2 degrees Celsius warming, some places they will experience the increase in the rainfall events compared to the 1.5 degrees Celsius. So this is a classical examples. If you look at this is the Sawat area, the Kalam area before floods, and this had happened in the same area during the 2022 floods because of the flash floods. Again, this is the Kalam, the Bahrain area in the Sawat region, and this is the latest situation. Why? When people were constructing the hotels, the motels, and some recreational areas along the river, they actually they do the what we say encroachment in the river area. So we are not giving the ways to the waterways. What had happened? The water will comes out of the bank and it will cause destruction. And this is exactly what had happened in 2010 and even in 2022. This is one of our papers that we have published in 2018, and where we predict that in the coming years there will be more severe floods with the heavier magnitude. And this had happened in 2010, and the Munda headworks are washed away. And again in 2022, the Munda headworks are washed away. Even then, we did not learn the lesson from 2010. We did not even, again, the climate change impact phenomena was not included when they were reconstructing this Munda headworks. This had happened again in 2022. The headworks is washed away again. So there are some water risks in this basin due to the climate change. So what are the water risks? Let me give you some examples. I would like to show you some examples so that that will be helpful to you to understand the issues of the water crisis. So that's a very quick comparison between the floods of 2010 and 2022. So on my right, that is the flood of 2010, and this is the flood of 2022. And here you can see a clear difference between these two floods. The 2010 flood was the riverine flood, and most of the inundation you will see along the rivers. But in 2022, hardly there was some riverine flood. Most of the floods that's shown on the map, they are quite far away from the river main channels, because this 2022 flood is basically because of the precipitations. This is a bit a kind of quick comparison between the damages that the country has faced in 2010 and 2022. So very quickly, the affected area is 20% in 2010, and now it's 33%. Similarly, 20 million people are affected in 2010, and there are more than 33 million people have been affected to the 2022 floods. Crop damage is 4.9 million acres in 2010, and now it's 8.3 million. And in terms of monetary damages, $10 billion was the estimated loss during the 2010 flood, and now it's over 30 billion loss. That's due to the climate change. Food security crisis, again, is another issue that we are going to face if still we do not include the climate change as our top priority. There are so many hectares of the area, the standing crops have been gone, have been washed away, have been destroyed. There is suspected food crisis in the country because hardly we have a time to sow the wheat, which is a stable crop and stable food for the Pakistan. Unfortunately, still in Sindh area, the floodwater is standing. So that is another problem that we are going to face very soon. So losses in green biomass, I've just tell you that these were some of the pics that we have taken from the satellites of 2010, 2022, and even the 15 and 2022, the August, and this is the entire August, the area, the crop damages. Similarly, this area of Sindh still is in a very poor condition. Still, there is standing water in the crops, in the fields. So hardly there is any crop left. So that's why I'm saying that we are already on the verge of another disaster that we are going to face very soon. And I'm going to take this as Mubashir is with us. I think he's the expert in the global climate modeling and the downscaling. I just want to draw your attention that, for example, this is one of the model, the global climate model. And according to this model, there will be some precipitation in this particular part. So this is somewhere in the Africa, right? So here you can see if we take two models, so both of the models are saying they're showing the two different stories. One is saying there will be some sort of a flood situation, but other model is saying there will be a drought condition. Similarly, the more model we have, the more uncertainty we have, and so on. So the best is you have to be very careful. You have to be very tactful. You have to be very wise while selecting the climate projections or the climate models for the projection for any area of the world. We tried our level best to consider some of the best models for the Pakistan. And one of my last project that I handed over to one of the government agencies in Pakistan, where we did some climate modeling and do some flood hazard assessment, the flood modeling of some of the river basins. This is what we have done. We have divided the entire time period into three time slices based on the 30 years time period. So the upper figure you can see, this is the precipitation projections for the RCP 4.5, sorry, the SSP2 and RCP 4.5 combination is known as RCP, so SSP 245, and these are the climate projections for the SSP 585. Similarly, the temperature changes or the projected temperature changes in the towards the end of the century with again the two scenarios. So in both of the cases, we have observed that the maximum temperature and the minimum temperature are on the rising side in the Pakistan. Then we have some options of the mitigations and adaptation. For example, what we can go for the adaptation side, what we can go for the mitigation side. But then there is a middle line that we can adopt. If we can adopt those, at least we will go for the sustainable, like smart growth, local foods can be grown, water conservation, and the public engagements, more and more awareness among the community, among the farmers community, among the scientists. We have to listen them, we have to inform them. There needs to be well-informed decisions from both from the private sector and from the government sector as well. One of the best strategy, I have said earlier, that we are going to have a more and more heavier rainfall. So what we can do, we can go for rainwater harvesting. It is not, that is something old, what our parents have been done, what our forefathers have been done. Like they collect the rainwater and they use that water either for cleaning the house or for cleaning the clothes. This is what they had done. But now we are not doing this. So again, this is sort of an opportunity for us. If we're on the other one side, we are saying that we will be having a more rainfall. So why not we should conserve that rainwater? And this is what, as IMI Pakistan, we have tried our level best. In the Kachnath Park, in the Islamabad, in I-8 sector, we try to recharge the groundwater with the help of this rainwater. So we construct a small reservoir, a very small reservoir where all the water from the with a natural slope it comes into this reservoir, and then we have a deep diver installed, and also there is a recharge well. So that helps to recharge the groundwater. And from the last one season, there was 3 to 4 inches rise in the groundwater in this particular area. And looking at this experimental side, the CDA, the Capital Development Authority of Islamabad, they are contacting us. They have approached us that we should work with them, and they have identified more than 45 potential sites where they can do the same kind of interventions to store the rainwater and to recharge the groundwater in the Twin Cities. And the Twin Cities, one of the major issues the people are facing is the scarcity of water, the drinking water scarcity in this area. So I think that's a wonderful opportunity we have, not only for the Twin Cities, but the rest of the country as well, where we can conserve this water and we can use it later on for our drinking purpose and for some other purposes as well. One more thing, that's my personal opinion. I don't know whether you will agree with this or not. I think we need to charge the water, and we should go for the water pricing, because water is something that we always take as a free commodity, but this is something which is not free. We have to, if, for example, we do not pay attention toward this, our future generation will be suffering. So we have to go for some sort of a water pricing as well, so that we can have a value of this precious commodity. So what are the way forwards from this presentation or from this discussion that we can have? So some major is that in Pakistan, we are expecting to having a more precipitation under both scenarios. We will be having a higher temperatures. So with the higher temperature, with the higher precipitation, there are likely chances to be having more blow events in the northern areas. And there are likely chances of having a more marine flood, particularly in the Kabul Basin. So it's a right time, it's a high time that climate change phenomena or the climate change impact assessment must be incorporated in all sort of flood modeling studies, flood protection works, and for the monitoring, it is very important to include the climate change data. Second thing, like everybody is working in their own silos, right? So what we can do, why not we should adopt the, for example, the satellite technology, the latest modern technologies, and we can combine them on the one platform. That would be a wonderful opportunity for all of us. Those who are working in the silos, we should come out, we should collaborate, and we should work together so that we can give the information to the other people as well, and they can be benefited from our work, and instead of wasting their own time and energies and resources, we can give them well-informed information so they can get benefited and make some good interventions, either for the catchment management, for floodplain management, or for the irrigation water use. This is what we can do. And the climate change adaptation perspective, I think once again, it's the right time to revise about the hydroclimatic studies and hydrological and hydraulic modeling for all the major rivers. Construction of the new dams, it is not necessary we should go for the larger dams, but we can go for the smaller dam storage areas. Once again, the climate change must be included. Why I am emphasizing on the climate change? So there are some classical examples. One is the Rishun Dam. It was somewhere in the Chitral. And when they were constructing the dam, so it was saying that, okay, there won't be any water available, so why not we should construct a small dam? So they construct a small dam, but they did not include the climate change perspective. What had happened in the first flood, when comes, the entire structure was washed away. So that was the underestimation of the water in that area. And similarly, Sapara Dam in Skardu, they said, okay, there will be more water available, so why not we should go for the larger structure. So they have constructed a large dam, they have wasted the resources there. And unfortunately, that dam wasn't filled because there was less water available. So now they have divert some of the river canals to this dam so that they can be filled up. That's why I'm saying that revised hydroclimatic studies with climate change impact assessment is a need of time. Similarly, the climate resilient flood protection works is necessary. River diversions, again, they need to be channelized. An improved monitoring system, early warning system, even early drought warning system, it is a need of time that we should adopt it. So I'm not going into this slides. So that was my last slide, and thank you very much for listening me patiently and painfully. If you have any questions, I'm here, and questions are welcome. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Iqbal. It was an amazing presentation, and I can see that Adnan, he would like to go for a question. So Adnan, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Adnan. I'm working in ICTP Italy. So, Dr. Shah, that's a very nice presentation and a very nice overview from the what happening in climate change and what happening in Pakistan. I have a couple of comments actually when you gave an example of this, 2022 and 2010 and all these, extreme event example, and you talked about that. Okay, we can do some management of these dams. I think it's very hard to do so. For example, if you look at 2022, if as you have shown, I think I completely agree with you. This 2022 event was a very unique event because it has two components. One was a seasonal anomaly rainfall, which is all the southern half received from, let's say, July to August. Every day there was a rain, and that was very unusual part, which is not happening in that half of the world during even the summertime. And then there was another component came from the flooding, which came from the coastal on the northwest, and that added to the agony of the south part. Watershed and
Exactly.
this. There are two components
Exactly.
which we have explained very well, in fact. For example, if you look at the climatology of the southern half of Balochistan, there's no rain, right? There's no rain. You
Exactly.
cannot say
Exactly.
there's rain, right? So it's a very hard to manage all these things, and you had a suddenly a rain in for about 570% of rain. Oh wow, what is happening over this case? So I mean, so it's very hard to manage all these things. I mean to say this info, but having said, and you are, I completely agree with you that if you look at the Indus Basin tributary during this 2022, there was normal rainfall, in fact, below normal or something like that.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so this is very hard to do all these management when we say this. But I think, having said that, and I think you must show this slide of this 14%, what we are making like storage capacity comparing to Colorado to your, think tanks in Pakistan, that we need dams, right? That's the only thing what we can do in this case. And I think putting everything on the climate change, I think is too much for me, because if you look at the global temperature is 1.1 degrees C, and as you said that there's no reversal, absolutely, because we are living in an entropy world. There's nothing to be reversed. We can't reverse the things, right? So, but we can manage the things well. So, and we know that the zero point 0.2 degrees C is a per decade change of the temperature globally. So it means that in next 15 to 16 years, we are beyond 1.5. So forget about 1.5 for me. I think that's the point in this case. So I mean to say that, as you said, that your last point, I pick up from your last point, your early warning systems may be a key thing here, because we know that all these extreme events, their frequencies are increasing, their intensities are increasing, and they can only be coped through the better early warning systems. That's what my point of view in this case. So I think instead of putting all these things somewhere, I think we must have better early warning system. We must have knowing the climate system well, the precipitation component well, the snow component well, how the runoffs will be contributing, will be they're saying. For example, you know, if we look at the summer case, I think there are a lot of glof also happened in the north half in this case, because there was a continuous warming from last 2 years. We didn't have much
Yes.
rain during the winter time, and that's a charger for us for the summertime also. So I
Exactly.
mean to
Exactly.
say, we can do a better early warning system in this case, instead of putting everything blame on climate change. That's okay. This is there. We cannot deny climate change, and we cannot do that. And I think, but for me, I think if we make a better early warning system, that could be a key factor
Yeah,
to
yeah,
to
I
get
think.
off this climate change. This is what my comment is. Thank you very much. Anyway, sorry for
See,
bearing me
Adnan,
up.
I would like
No,
to
no.
I would like to give you a very quick reply. Whatever you have said, I totally agree with that. I'm not going to blame anyone. I'm not going to blame that the climate change is the only problem, but this is one of the problem. This is one of the problem, but we are facing. Unfortunately, once again, I'm going to agree with you. The government departments, they are not collaborating with each other. Everyone is sitting in their own silos, right?
That's true.
That is one of the biggest issue. Yeah, because now I'm working in International Water Management Institute, where we have a more interaction with these government departments. And Adnan, believe you me, always whenever we are going or when we are approaching the government department, it's one of the biggest challenge for us, because nobody is giving us the time. Or for example, if somebody gives us time, they are very much scared to share their data. And until and unless you don't have a data, you cannot work on that. For example, if you, me, Shahid, or somebody else, we are the best modelers in the world. But for example, we have a garbage. Whatever we will produce, we'll produce the garbage. So I totally agree with you. The underlying message of the entire presentation was that we must go for the well-informed decision system or the decision support
Yeah,
system.
just
And
I would like to interrupt you on that, Shahid. And I think probably what Adnan said and what you are saying, and I'm not climate change expert, anyways. I'm just a scientist. So so all of these early warning systems and informed decisions are very important. But don't you think that if we need to kind of understand that sometimes it is riverian floods, sometimes it is due to rainfall. But why it is happening and which sectors within Pakistan's they could be more responsible for that and do the interventions around that, this is what it is and this is what we have to deal with it. How to deal with it? I think that should be very interesting question to ask.
So, Shahid, uh, how to deal with it is $1 million question, right? If, for
I'll
example,
give you a $1 million and can you solve that?
I'll be grateful if you give me the $1 million. Okay, the thing is, uh, there is no single body who's responsible. Everybody is responsible. Everybody has to take the responsibility and they have to contribute. As a layman, say for example, as a layman, as a common person of the society, what I'm doing, am I contributing towards or am I going to conserve the water? My biggest mistake as a common person, when I'm going to wash my car, I used to wash the car with the tap water. That is my biggest crime what I'm committing. Why I'm not conserving the rainwater, when, as I said, that our forefathers, even my parents, they used to conserve that water in the buckets. And later on, those buckets of water has been used for the washing the clothes, to cleaning the house, and for some other purposes. Now we are not doing so because we are not taking the pain.
Right.
Until and
So
unless everybody realizes, we can't do
yeah,
it.
And,
awareness
and,
is one
and
thing.
yeah, and one thing more, I just like to add your why. So this why question come from the science. As we explore the science, the Pakistan climate is not isolated climate because we think about it's a kind of continuum of global thing. For example, we know what is happening somehow in this year. There were a lot of extreme large scale forcings, what we say from we have a Pacific, we have Indian Ocean, we have atmospheric forcings. There are many anomalous forcings were going on and they all affect the Pakistan climate also. So we cannot
Exactly.
isolate all these things. So that's come from the early warning system. So what is happening. For example, the models, as we Shai Sab said, that the models are good enough in predicting these forcings and knowing these things relationship. We can improve about this is 6 months. What gonna be the expected climate of after 6 months, or what gonna be expected weather. We can do all these things. So that can help and that we can manage through different departments and to as we said make a different chains and all them together. So that comes the role of early warning system and they are doable. And even if you look at these days on the web, the big centers, they are giving their forecasts about what is happening after
Exactly.
3 months,
Exactly.
after 6 months. So they are not being
Yeah.
hiding the things.
So sorry,
Yeah.
I will stop you here, and I would like to invite Dr. Mubashir to come in and since he's one of the experts on climate change as well. Yes, Mubashir, go on, and you're on mute. If you unmute yourself.
Yes, so hello everyone, especially Dr. Adnan and Dr. Shahid Rasool and Dr. Shahid Iqbal. So it was pleasure, it was pleasure listening the talk of Dr. Shahid. It was very nice. So he said that, there is a climate change issue that is bringing a lot of rain and riverine floods in Pakistan. So yes, we agree. There are two things that, as Dr. Adnan was mentioning, this type of extreme events. Number one, we cannot predict them very easily. Our models
Yes.
still lagging behind to do this kind of simulations to predict. So this was the issue, that this time we were affected not only by climate change but also by natural phenomena, as Dr. Adnan said, that there are
Exactly.
things are interlinked, and we got affected by many teleconnections. Dr. Adnan will agree with me that there are some teleconnections that are connected from Pacific Ocean. We name them like ENSO, and then there are very some phenomena very nearby to us, that which are connected with Indian Ocean. So like the Indian Ocean dipole, in addition to that, we also got affected by the climate change. I mean, the increase of anthropogenic forcing. So this anthropogenic kind of forcing could produce local heating, let's say, over the continents, which can drain the water from the nearby, I mean, Indian Ocean or the Bay of Bengal during summer monsoon due to the thermal gradient between land and the ocean. So this kind of things we always face, this land gradient, land and ocean gradient. That brings the moisture towards the inland areas of Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and India. But that usually we can adapt because we have somehow managed. But when there is the co-occurring phenomena like Indian Ocean dipole is enhanced due to the ENSO phenomena, or the we also called in the Atlantic Ocean. Dr. Adnan has published several papers which we call them Atlantic Nino. So they also have the effects. So when all these phenomena, and recently Dr. Mohsin Ashfaq, he was mentioning that there is a shift of jet streams. So especially during this monsoon, he has shown that there are some linkages between the shift of jet streams as well as this ENSO. So when they all together happened, they brought a lot of rainfall. So this kind of things when happened, the single body, and like the government of Pakistan, they cannot manage this type of extreme.
Exactly.
So what Dr. Shahid Iqbal has given the solutions, let's say, they are somehow the starters. We can do such kind of solutions, like he mentioned that we have to do recharge of this type of water. We have to build the small and the bigger dams, but still, even if we do one thing, I mean, we cannot manage. We have to do maybe all these interventions. Like we have to manage the recharging. We have to do this small dams and bigger dams, and also maybe we have to do the diversions, as he mentioned, diversions of the rivers. So when we have all these techniques all together, maybe we could cope up with these kind of extreme phenomena. So yes, this could be the possible solution, I think.
Bashir,
So
one more thing.
Sorry.
I would like to add something.
Please.
There is an emerging concept in the world, and it was very encouraging concept, and that is known as the water banking. So what does the water banking concept means? It means, for example, we have a bank where we go and put our money, right? The same bank are actually the aquifers beneath the ground. So groundwater, for example, the aquifers. What we can do, if we potentially identify the locations that, for example, these are the 3, 4, 5, or 6 locations in an area, in a city, where we can dig a recharge well and we can put the water into the account of the aquifer as a groundwater banking. I think this is one of the easiest and the ideal way that we can conserve the water. Yes, I do agree with you. We need the small dams. We need larger dams as well, because we don't have a storage capacity. Unfortunately, we are just storing 10% of the Indus Basin, right? I totally agree with Dr. Adnan. I totally agree with you. We need to do these interventions on a very faster pace. But on the other hand, to predict these shorter phenomena, we must go for the nowcast. Instead of the forecast, we have to go for the nowcast as well. I was in Vienna.
Could you please explain on that? I do not know what does that mean?
The nowcast is the short-term prediction or the forecast of an area. For example, the things what I have observed when I was in Vienna, in EASA. So the government of Vienna, the municipality of Vienna, they were doing the nowcast, and that prediction or the forecast was available to the construction people. If you know that in the Europe, the cost of construction is very high. The cost of actually, what you can say, the wages are very high. So they took the 2 hours nowcast or the 4 hours nowcast, and based on that, they start their construction works. Okay, for the next 4 hours, we won't be having a rainfall. So let's work with it. So this is how they utilize their resources. And that is one of the classical examples they have done. I think we should learn the lesson from them, and we can do it. It's quite easy. It's not that big task.
Yeah, so just since we have got several experts, so I'm just wondering that if Farooq or Dr. Rizwan Razad, if they would like to ask something or they would like to add something to this discussion.
Thanks very much, Dr. Shahid. It's Dr. Farooq here from Swansea University. I have interest in agriculture, and I think very interesting talk by Dr. Shahid. I'm also involved in some ways in promoting the climate change. And one of the biggest issue I think we see is the behavior change and the perception of the people. And you can see from the Pakistan, that was today was a very relevant topic. And I don't see anyone from the agriculture sector attending this thing. So again, what can we do in terms of the changing the behavior sector? Because yes, we have got the science, we got the experts, we got this knowledge, but unless we change the understanding and behavior, and that's not going to change. We can make number of policies. The government, we see that how much interested they are. They've got their own issues, but it's on the ground level, as you mentioned, that the using of the water and all this. On the ground level, agriculture is one of the biggest user of the water. So how we can bring about all these behavioral changes and can show them that yes, there is an urgent need to conserve water. So Shahid, and you are, please, any comments on that one?
Thank you.
Okay, let me give you a very, very, very beautiful example. The example is, I think in the last month or in August, yes, on the 16th of August, I was in the Dairy Khan, and we arranged a one-day seminar there. We were trying our level best to educate the farmers because they are the end users of the water and they are facing the climate change issues a lot. So we talked to them that, do you know what is the climate change? So there is a famous quote in Pashto. I'm going to translate that for you in English. And according to that quote, in the Pashtun community, the more sons and the more guns. That's the concept, right? Because they are the warriors. And the same concept applies in the farming community in the KPK, because they're saying if we apply more amount of water, regardless of their requirement, we'll be having a more crop yield. That's the wrong perception. We tried our level best to educate them that look, for example, with the high efficiency irrigation techniques like for drip system, for the sprinkler system, for the furrow system, and there are so many other high efficiency irrigation systems. With the less amount of water, you can get even then a higher crop yield production. And we have demonstrated them. We have a field office in the Dairy Khan where we do the raised bed techniques and where we applied the drip irrigation systems. And believe you me, Farooq Saab, the yield was phenomenal. We invited the farmers before going to install that drip irrigation system. We have shown them. And you know what they were saying? They were saying this drip of water or this drop of water, how will this will irrigate or provide the water to the crops? And then we demonstrate with a very living example. If you put your hand into the water for the 10 minutes or 15 minutes and put out of your water from the hand, and you will see there are some scars on the water on your hand. That's because of the excessive use of water. If you do not use the water as per the requirement of the crops, actually you are destroying the crop yield by yourself. There is a limit of everything. So I totally agree with you. I think we need to educate them as well, because Pakistan's GDP is, so agriculture is contributing 19 to 21% in our entire GDP, and more than 40% of the population of Pakistan, they are engaged in this agriculture sector. I totally agree with you. We need to educate them as well.
Yeah. And just one more point, I think I'm here in Wales in the UK, and yesterday we are having like a Wales Climate Week, and someone was discussing with me over here, and they've submitted this proposal to Welsh government over here. And what they're saying is that in the mosque we use quite a lot of water for wudu. Why can't we use this recycle? So they are putting a bid for how we can use the recycling of the water which is coming from. And you took look at the example in the Pakistan. How many mosques we have got? This water is not treated with any soap, with anything. It's a pure clean water.
It's a clean water. It's a clean water.
It's a clean water. Can be used for but is there any? What I would say is going to work is that if we have got a small demonstration of that sort of, whether in a village or in a city, that okay, you collect and then redirect that sort of water. So those sort of the concepts needs to go on the ground level, that how we can make a small changes and then start making the.
So Farooq sir, for your information, for your kind information, on the 15th of December, I'm going to demonstrate the same thing in Peshawar, in one of the suburbs of Peshawar. We have already planned this. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have just 2 minutes left, and for your final comments, Mubashir and Adnan and Shahid.
Yeah,
just be quick, please.
Let me be quick. So I think, Dr. Shahid, as you were mentioning, that we do have issue of data sharing, especially in Pakistan. All the institutes, they are reserved and they only wanted to own their work. So they don't want.
Exactly.
even we have issues about smoke. I mean, the now cost or the forecasting of this smoke, and due to which Pakistan is suffering. So I think there should be some awareness to share the data so that we modelers or even the forecasters can do something for Pakistan. So this is my comments, I think.
Thank you, Mubashir. Any final comments, Adnan?
Yeah, I think I had a similar experience. I was asking for data for some, runoff things from North part. It took me 1 year. And finally, I got from some very good, student. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. We had to model, we have to validate the model, we have to do the things. Anyway, so that's one. I think it's a very nice presentation. So I really enjoyed your presentation. I had a good, feeling about this, that the things are going on. So good luck, and I hope to see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so from
Any
my
final
side,
comments, Shah? Yeah.
Yeah, from my side, I'm very open. I would like to invite all of my friends, Mubashir, Adnan Saab, Shahid, Farooq Saab, and Dr. Rizwan. Please come up with any of the idea where I can work with you as an IMI Pakistan or as an individual capacity. I'm always open. Whatever the data sets you need, just let me know. Whatever I have, I'm very open. And I'm very open to share the data because it's not my property. If we use that data for any purpose to bring the innovation or to bring some improvement in society, that will be something that we can pass on to our future generations. So I have a lot of data. If you need any sort of data regarding the flow, please let me know. I can share it with you. I have more or less the entire Pakistan flows data till 2022. So if anybody needs for any interventions, please send me an email. I'll share the data with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shahid,
Thank
for
you
such
very
a
much,
nice,
Doctor.
Thank you,
generous
Mr.
offer.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very
God
much.
bless you, sir.
And it was really an amazing presentation and discussion, and especially from all the experts, So this is what we want, in fact, Obviously, I am not the expert in climate change, but I want to listen to you. What are the interventions we can make at different stages, at different levels, and what kind of stakeholders we can bring in? So that is the purpose of these talks and discussions. And obviously, I'm looking forward to invite Adnan and Mubashir as well for some of the webinars.
Please
And
do
Dr.
invite me as well. I would love to listen then.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So thank you very much for your time, Farooq Saab and everyone. And I'll see you later. Take care. Allah
Thank you.
Hafiz.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hafiz. Hafiz.
Bye-bye.